Just finished installing the AirMaxx kit. Terrible instructions, no wiring, had to plumb everything myself. Wiring's not very good, but there's a distribution block. There's no diagram for it. These bottom two are your airbags. That's going to be your compressor and the gauge that runs up front. This is for in-cab controller. 2 wires in this case. There's a little Phillips on top that powers it. This is the dump one, which is my yellow wire. That's my power. Ground. Just grounded it to the frame. Ran the in-cab wire up, followed the e-brake cable all the way up front. My compressor line I ran over the top of the tank, top of the support, and then to the side of the frame rail over the top between the cab and the bed, and it is mounted on the side of the frame. This bolt under here that holds it, need to tighten that before you put the airbag on because you won't be able to get to it. Ran my line down, followed my other brake lines up top, loomed it so nothing would pinch it. Tried to get as best swoop as I could without it pulling on it too much. There's that compressor line running on top of the cab. Here's my air compressor. I mounted it sideways. I self-tapped it. I need to get different self-tappers because the ones I have don't work very well. Ground to the frame. Loom this, followed the SCR and DPF filter harness. I did a remote filter mount. Normally a filter goes here. Did a remote mount to get better air so it's not hot or dirty. Do need to loom that so nothing rubs on that. Loom this all the way over. Over the top of the body. Under went over the top of the frame, then went on the transmission cross member, tucked it into the factory wire loom, went up above the brake lines, and over the top of the frame rail up top there. From the back of the truck, went through the e-brake holder cable holder. Just followed the e-brake. I never use my e-brake, so it's never gonna move. Went up, followed the routing over the top of the cab mount. Went to the TCM harness right here. And then ran it up the inner fender liner. Did some mounting to the brake line stay. It's all loomed so nothing rubs on it because you don't want that air leak, because this is an active air line that's part of this harness right here. And I'll go up top and I'll show you what I did with wiring. So after you run your wires up here, there's that compressor wire and the air line. Give you a relay. So red's power, black is ground, constant power, constant ground. Red and white is compressor, and white goes to the switch inside. I made my power wire out of, I think it was 14 gauge, matched the factory, or the plug wire. Just attached them both here. And then I ran the white and the blue wire inside, which is 12 volt. So this green wire I have is for my cab lights that I put in. So that's turn on power. So I have a couple wires here. I have my airline, my yellow, my blue, and my red. My blue is accessory, 12 volt. My red is to turn on the compressor on the relay. And my yellow is for the light power. So that when I turn my headlights on, the light on the gauge turns on. Which I have here. So when I turn my headlights on, the light comes on. This is dump. This is compressor on. Unfortunately, it's a toggle switch, so you have to hold it, but it airs out pretty fast. Drilled 2 holes on the top and just self-tapered screws. And then I drilled 3 holes here. One for the airline, make that as straight as possible so it doesn't bend the fitting. And then my 3 wires for my switch run through here. And then my 2 wires for the light on the gauge go through there. Unfortunately, to take this piece off, you have to take your whole face piece off and unplug everything. I didn't want to do that. So I popped this out, and it allowed me to reach my hand up in here, pull the wires through. They come out of here somewhere. You can't really see where. You kind of just got to push it till you find it. And then I run them all up here. And I hate using these, but I used a tap just for that one wire. Everything else is soldered or heat shrink connected. Run it through my parking brake cable grommet. So I'm gonna seal it up when I'm done. And I wanted to make this video because no one made a video on how to wire it. The instructions are terrible. This is pretty much it. Don't mind this. But that's your relay. Some things I'd keep in mind before you start is it was easier for me to push my wires through here, the firewall or the interior, and start here, push them out into here, get everything set here, push it through the grommet, then run it to the back of the truck because I wasn't able to push the wires through the back side. So I started here. This is on 3rd gen Dodge, same for 5.9 or 6.7. But I went through the firewall and I got it all up here through this. Then I went down. I didn't have any loom at the time yesterday, so I just put it all through and I loomed it today. But I just self-tapped this relay up here. It still unplugs. I can still get to all the wires. Everything is loomed. So yeah, I just went down through the fender liner. I went behind here, and there's this plug right here for the brake line ABS sensor. And I just zip tied it to that, and then went below here. This is the only part you can see, which is fine. It's not touching anything. I just ran it all along down. And I did this with no lift. Don't need a lift. Did not jack the truck up. Some people say you have to jack the truck up. Did not jack it up. Just, it's very simple, just without instructions. It took me probably 12 hours of just looking at it. But yeah, there's nothing in it right now. When you're building the block, this is the new style block. Do not use thread tape because it leaks. Use the thread sealant that they give you and just put a bunch on there. Yeah, that's about it. I did not find any videos of this particular kit on YouTube, and took a chance on buying it for 500 bucks. It's pretty nice. Could be better. I think I'd spend $1,000, $1,200 next time on an air ride kit, and just have it be wired for the truck, and it's good. Things like these bolts started to bend when I tightened them because they're not the right size for this 4-inch exhaust tube or axle tube. So if you have a rear sway bar, it won't work because your mounts run up to the top right there. So other than that, pretty simple. If you have any questions, let me know. Just Loctite everything that you can't get to once it's bolted up. And it's not a bad kit, just you run into stupid little things like this, and I'm sure the compressor won't last long, but I don't use them that much. So yeah, just make sure everything you run is at a swooping angle, not a sharp angle, and everything's loomed, and you'll be good. This one port on the side, even though it's threaded, it's a dump kit. If you had a tank, that would dump into your tank so that you could reuse the air. So that's it, yeah. Let me know if any questions. Last thing to add, my 12-volt accessory wire, where it's key on, ran up to the fuse box. This green one's for my cab lights. It's for parking lights. But number 30, which is 15, that is your, this is for 6/7 only. This has the exhaust filter fuse. All that wiring goes into this fuse, but mine's deleted, so I don't need that anymore. But if it is not deleted, you might have some draw issues, because when the system's running, it might not like having that compressor running as well. But other than that, I will reiterate power wires. White is going to run into the switch inside of the cab. Red with the white stripe is going to run to the compressor. Red and black are constant power and ground. And then top, this has 3 pins on it. Top pin is pin 86 on the relay, which is that white wire. The middle one is going to be that accessory 12-volt that I showed you under the fuse panel. And the very bottom one is dump, which is my yellow wire, which runs to the back of the truck to that solenoid on the distribution block. 2 wires coming out of this, power, ground. I use this one that tap into the cap lights.